Happy Memorial Day, folks. Welcome back to Hashtag AskGSM here today, edition number 80. So if you take a time out of any point in your week or today's holiday to watch this video, you are a true hardcore fan, so I appreciate that. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your holiday. But first and foremost, I would like to thank @_John's Jargon on the Twitter, @JohnKnapp, a good buddy. We filmed Hashtag AskGSM last week together, and one of, if not the single greatest episode ever. So go back and check it out if you haven't already. Episode 79. Had a lot of fun talking to John. I just saw him yesterday, actually. I saw him on Tuesday, Monday of last week, and then Sunday yesterday for a party. So always great catching up with him. Hopefully we'll have him back on the show before the end of December once again. I can almost guarantee it. So a great episode. Make sure to check out that one before watching this one. And there's a lot to cover this week. We've got a great Raw to cover. NXT TakeOver Unstoppable, Samoa Joe. A lot of questions about the Samoan submission specialist here in today's episode. And I don't care if it's Memorial Day, Labor Day, Christmas, Arbor Day. We take hashtag no days off to steal from Darren Young here on Hashtag AskGSM. I film this every single week. I think the only episode I missed since the start of 2014 was like one episode right after the Rumble in 2014. That's it. We have filmed every episode every single week since then, since the start of 2014. So no days off, no weeks off. Hashtag AskGSM being brought to you here today by your own Graham Justin Matthews. So let's kick it off with the YouTube questions, kicking it off with Jose K. His question was, will the Shield be coming back together since the Wyatt family seems to be coming back together again? At any point in the near future, absolutely not. I don't think they will. I don't think they should. I love the Shield. My favorite faction of all time, probably, but there is no need for them to be coming back together this soon. I know there were some rumblings that they might get back together at Payback last week, and they did, obviously, for that one-off, the power bomb, for that like one-off moment. Then Seth Rollins thought they were getting back together, and then Dean Ambrose is laughing, and his face turns to he goes serious, and Roman Reigns and Dean beat the crap out of Seth Rollins. That was great, and just one-off things like that are pretty awesome. That I'm completely content with. There's no full-on reunion. You don't need a full-on reunion with these three guys right now, because they're all flourishing as single stars. Why would you get them back together? I could see them turning Dean Ambrose heel later this year. I don't know if they would realign him and Seth. It wouldn't make any sense that given their current feud, they could just have the two heel and just not encounter one another. But still, I feel like that's going to happen sooner or later. Or Roman Reigns is the heel, whatever it may be. Regardless, so there is no need to reunite the Shield right now. The Wyatt family, like you mentioned, it looks like Harper and Rowan are getting back together. I don't know about why. I don't think that's happening, unfortunately. I would love to see all three guys back together. I'm just happy at all that we have Harper and Rowan back together, since that really adds to the tag team division. And they weren't doing anything anyway. Harper had a one-off run as Intercontinental Champion late last year, and that went nowhere. He lost all of his matches as champion. Then Eric Rowan has not been doing anything since his botched feud with the Big Show late last year. So I'm glad they're back together. I don't know if Bray's going to be getting involved with them or not. I hope so. I don't think so, though. But yeah, no Shield for right now. Down the line, absolutely, for a reunion. It's every great group has it, whether it's Evolution or D-Generation X or whatever it may be, NWO, they always get back together at some point. So I anticipate that, but not at any point in the near future. His second question, if Cesaro wins Money in the Bank, I don't think they would need to split up the tag team with him and Tyson Kidd. They could just have him hold on to it, and Tyson Kidd could be his helper when he cashes it in, correct? First of all, I don't see Cesaro winning Money in the Bank. I'll say that right now. It's not that I don't want to, I just don't see it happening. Because like you said, he's tag teaming with Tyson Kidd right now. And, I said this before, and I'll probably write an article about it, at some point in the next few weeks or so, in the next few days maybe, that this tag team, I think, is the perfect foundation for Cesaro to, break out as a babyface, much like his tag team with Jack Swagger a couple years ago. But I feel like this one, although much like Real Americans, they have a lot more staying power. They're so innovative. They're so great together. They have such, they have such great chemistry. There's no reason to break up Cesaro and Kidd right now, even if it was to do a feud or if they wanted to push Cesaro. And I like Kidd too, so I want to see them both be pushed at the same time, simultaneously. So there's no need to split them up right now. If it meant Cesaro was going to be going on to bigger and better things in the main event scene, then sure. But if they're just going to split them up, it makes no sense. Don't do it. But to answer your question, I don't see Cesaro winning Money in the Bank, because they're going to be in the Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber this Sunday. And then after that, they'll probably stick together, maybe do a feud with Harper and Rowan. I don't know, something like that I would love to see. But yeah, I don't see Cesaro winning Money in the Bank. But let's say in this scenario he does. Like you said, they don't need to split up the tag team. They did when they did what was their tag team name? The Rhodes Scholars, Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow. They used that when Sandow won. They used that as the catalyst for their breakup. When Cody Rhodes turned babyface, you know, they could turn Cesaro babyface, and they could turn Tyson, or keep Tyson Kidd heel, or maybe they're both babyface right now. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I think they're both babyface right now anyway. But that being said, yeah, you don't need to cash it in. I mean, you don't need to break up the tag team, but like we saw in 2013, I would imagine they would. You know, I would imagine that one would become jealous of the other, and I would assume that Tyson Kidd would be the one to go heel, Cesaro keep him babyface. He has the more potential of the two to be a breakout star. So you wouldn't have to, but I feel like they probably would anyway. Next question, also from YouTube. The first KFC, first question was, should Samoa Joe be a face or a heel? Right now, I mean, he can work as both, but for right now, absolutely a babyface. NXT needs all the top babyfaces they can get right now. I mean, NXT is stacked, but with Hideo Itami being out and Sami Zayn being out for the foreseeable future, that's two huge stars being knocked off right there. We have Finn Balor, but that's it, you know? So I think Samoa Joe kind of fills in that role perfectly right now. And then for the heels, you have Kevin Owens, Tyler Breeze. There's probably a few other names that I'm not thinking of right now. There's a bunch of people on the NXT roster that could fill up that heel side of the roster at this moment. But yeah, Samoa Joe as a babyface needs to happen. I mean, he was so freaking over when he came in. There's no need to turn him heel. Keep him as a babyface. Down the line, if you want to turn him, sure. I think he works fine as a heel. I've always enjoyed him more as a babyface. I don't know. I think as a heel, as an unstoppable monster, I mean, if Brock Lesnar goes babyface, if he officially goes babyface this summer, then we'll need someone to fill in that unstoppable monster role. And he could do that perfectly. So I think, you know, I'll talk about that in a minute. A babyface Lesnar versus a heel Joe would be fucking phenomenal, you know? Pardon my French, but that would be fucking phenomenal. So I could see that. But other than that, though, I think keeping him babyface for right now would be the best option because he's so over. He's so popular. He sold out merchandise in like 5 minutes last week when they went on sale. I partook in that. I bought the shirt, you know, minutes after he arrived on NXT. So, yeah, keeping babyface for right now I think would be the best option. Second question, does NXT need more divas or tag teams right now? Absolutely more tag teams. You know, at NXT TakeOver last week, you had the women's title match, an excellent women's title match, by the way, between Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. You had the other women's tag team match, not a women's singles match, a women's tag team match with Charlotte and Bayley versus Dana Brooke and Emma. And then you have the other feud between Alexa Bliss and Carmella in the tag team scene right now. That's 3 different women's feuds in NXT than it is in the main roster. That's like 2 more feuds than it is in the main roster right now. And they have even less women than they do on Raw and SmackDown. So that makes no sense. But that's why NXT is so great. Tag teams is their weak point. I love everything about NXT. Their tag teams are decent. I mean, they have Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. They have the current tag team champs, Blake and Murphy. The Vaudevillains, I have no idea where the hell they've been. They've been off TV for months, so I don't know where the fuck happened to them. Those guys, they have... They have the Shoot Nation or whatever it is, Chad Gable and Sawyer Fulton or Angelo Dawkins or something like that. They have that tag team, and that's about it. And some of those tag teams aren't even on TV every week. They don't have enough character development. We'd have no idea who they are. The Shoot Nation stable has not even been established as an official tag team yet. I just know that from reading reports and stuff of what happens on house shows. So yeah, they absolutely need more tag teams. I mean, I would hope that Enzo and Cass are going to be the first ones to take off the belt, to take the belts off of Blake and Murphy. They are far overdue for a tag team title run. So whether that happens on NXT or at the next live special in August, I have no idea. But I think those guys should be the ones to take the titles off of Blake and Murphy. And then beyond that, who you have challenge them, you know, because we already have the Lucha Dragons in the main roster. They need more tag teams in NXT, and I'm hoping they can kind of put more guys together to go after those tag team titles because they have a lot of talented people, but their tag team division is weak. So hopefully they can build upon that in the future. Andre G, moving to the Facebook questions here. His first one was, do you ever think Big E will be pushed as a major babyface again? Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, I would love to see it. I thought he was going to be, you know, one of the first few ever African-American world champions, other than The Rock in WWE. And when they were really pushing him pretty aggressively in early 2014, I want to say. And then after his run as IC champion ended, you know, he pretty much was dead in the water. They didn't do anything with him before the New Day finally came around. And even that at first was pretty garbage before they finally turned him heel. But I think, you know, I like Big E as a babyface. I think he was more over as a babyface, obviously, in NXT. But I think the reason why it didn't work on the main roster, he was over. I mean, people liked him, but he wasn't doing the 5-count gimmick, and I never understood why they never did that. I mean, the lyrics are in his theme song, so why they never went that route and officially turned him and had him do the 5-count gimmick makes no sense, because I think that was kind of what made him so popular over in NXT in front of the Full Sail crowd. So I'm hoping if they were ever to turn him again back into a breakout babyface, they would give him that gimmick. I'm not counting on it because they didn't do it the first time. But I don't think he'll ever be pushed as a major babyface again. I think he could. I would like to see him be pushed as that again, but I honestly don't think so. I think he could work as a heel, but as, you know, because right now he's flourishing in the New Day, but just as a babyface, you know, he was just missing something the first time around. It was that 5-count gimmick, I think, you know. People just weren't really connecting to him as I thought they would. Like I said, probably because of the lack of the 5-count thing. I think that would have worked perfectly for him on the main roster, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately. Second question was, what are your thoughts on ROH wrestler Moose? So it's funny that you mentioned that because, you know, I was thinking just recently, there's all this hubbubaloo about, and that's a word you don't hear too often, about Moose in, you know, in the wrestling world. You know, GFW's trying to sign him. WWE, I guess, was trying to sign him for the Tough Enough show. They didn't guarantee that he would win. They didn't know if he would get a contract, but they threw that offer out there. And he's also in Ring of Honor right now, so he's a pretty hot prospect. And I know he's a former football player. He has a very impressive physique. But it's funny because when I was watching Ring of Honor around this time a year ago for the summer of 2014, he wasn't really that good. I don't know if I saw him wrestle any matches, but, you know, as a character, he really wasn't that good. And people were just kind of crapping all over him. But, you know, a year later, I have not been watching. He's probably improved drastically, so I imagine. But yeah, the last time I saw him, he was not really that good. So I don't know what changed in him the last year. I mean, I guess he probably improved his in-ring work and mic work. He must have in order to come so far in the last year. But, you know, like I said, when the first time I saw him, he seems like a very impressive specimen, to say the least, in terms of his physical build. And you know how WWE likes to have former football players and whatever. The guy would, you know, Vince would love to have that guy on his roster. But I think he's better off in Ring of Honor for right now. I don't think going to GFW. I think the rumors of them trying to make him like their next big babyface is all bullshit just so they could sign the guy. I don't see that happening. And then he's better off probably not doing Tough Enough, because if he's guaranteed not to win, like if he's not guaranteed a victory, then it's not worth taking that risk. I don't think anyway. Maybe down the line, but for right now I think he's better off in Ring of Honor. But the guy's impressive. I would probably have to see more of his recent work in order to see how far he's come in the last year, though. His next question, do you think wrestlers like Sami Zayn, Neville, and Kalisto will get the Rey Mysterio treatment if given the World Championship? Well, first of all, I don't think Kalisto and Neville, I mean, this is, I don't know if this is popular opinion. I love those guys. I love all three of those guys. I just don't see, if out of those three, I think Sami Zayn is the most likely to win the belt. I don't know if the chances are even high of even him winning the championship. Especially for guys like Neville and Kalisto, I don't see it happening, especially with only one world title. If we had the World Heavyweight Championship, which Rey Mysterio won, if we only had one world title back when Rey Mysterio was champion, they probably would not have given the belt. I mean, I'll probably say that right now. I don't see that happening, because around that time they were pushing John Cena, and Triple H was another top heel, and you know, all these guys up and coming in the ranks. Rey Mysterio probably would have never gotten the belt. Let's say one of these three guys, though, like you said, Kalisto, Neville, or Zayn, were given the belt. This day and age, would they be given the Rey Mysterio treatment? It's hard to say. I would hope not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but, you know, guys like Zayn and Neville and Kalisto, I mean, it's kind of asking the same thing for Daniel Bryan. I know he's a little bit more popular than these guys, but the same stature, though. He's not the tallest guy in the world. You know, it's hard to say for him, too, because the guy, he's had, 4 or 5 world title runs, and all of them were ended prematurely because of it being vacated or him being injured or whatever. And after winning the belt after WrestleMania, it wasn't like he was on TV every week losing matches. You know, I don't know if he was even wrestling at all, but when he was wrestling, he was winning. You know, he got most of the TV time. He was made to look like a bitch in front of Kane, but other than that, though, he was booked pretty well as world champion. He was booked very well coming out of WrestleMania last year as world heavyweight champion. So, you know, I don't think they would make that same mistake with Sami Zayn or Neville and Kalisto. I don't know what it was about Rey Mysterio that they made him lose every week to guys like Khali and Henry and Kane. You know, I have no idea why they did that. You know, I don't know if there was heat on Rey Mysterio or what have you. But let's say in one instance, any one of these guys were to be given the belt. I don't think they would be given the Rey Mysterio treatment, or at least I would hope not. But because all three guys, I think, are not better than Rey Mysterio, but I think they're as good as him, or maybe close to being as good as Rey Mysterio. And there's no reason to. That's just bad booking. I have no idea why they did that. His reign flopped because of that. I mean, he had a decent reign, but the fact that he was losing all the time and he was made to look so weak. And I know he's the ultimate underdog, and Sami Zayn is kind of like that role now. He's kind of like the new Daniel Bryan hybrid between Bryan and Rey Mysterio. You know, I don't know. I would hope not. I can't really say that for sure because I don't really have much faith in the company. But all I could say is that I hope not. His next question, do you think the reason why all former TNA wrestlers did not succeed in WWE is because they didn't want to start from the bottom? I don't think so. I mean, I mentioned, I think it might have been in the video blog last week where I talked about, on Friday, where I talked about former TNA wrestlers not succeeding in WWE. Guys like Chris Harris, a.k.a. Braden Walker. Who else? Lance Hoyt, a.k.a. Lance Archer, whatever his name was in WWE. R-Truth and Christian I don't really count because they were with WWE before they joined with TNA, before they came back. So I don't really count them. But I don't think so. I don't think it might have been an ego thing. I have no idea. But I think with those guys especially, they just, I don't know. Chris Harris, when they signed him, he was not in good shape. He was very overweight. They put him on ECW, had all of 2 matches before they got rid of him. So he was not in the best physical condition that he could have been going into WWE. So that's not really their fault, Or I mean, in this case, you're saying they might have had an ego issue. They didn't want to start from the bottom. I don't think so. It's just probably more of WWE. I mean, Xavier Woods started from the bottom. It's not like he demanded to be up top. He was in NXT for years before he finally got called up. And when he was paired with R-Truth. So it's not, I don't think it's a matter of all TNA wrestlers, maybe for some. Even AJ Styles, I think, it's definitely not, you definitely can't stereotype all former TNA guys and say they didn't want to start from the bottom, that's why they didn't succeed in WWE. AJ Styles, why they did not offer him a WWE contract, which is mind-boggling to me, but nevertheless, I digress. AJ Styles mentioned in a shoot interview about a year or two ago, saying that he would, if he was to go to WWE, he would be more than willing to start out in NXT, which is saying something for a guy that has almost 15 years of experience in the wrestling business. So, I think that's not the case at all with everybody. Samoa Joe is also very willing to go to NXT. So maybe for some guys, maybe for a guy like Chris Harris who said, I'm too good to be on ECW, why am I here? I have an attitude issue. I don't even think that was the problem, but maybe for some people, definitely not all former TNA wrestlers, though. Next question comes from Paul S. He's got a couple here. First one being, of these 2 fantasy but possible feuds, who do you think would be the best to main event, or which one do you think would be the best to main event WrestleMania? John Cena versus Kevin Owens or Brock Lesnar versus Samoa Joe? That's a good question. And it's hard to answer, too, because both these feuds, if they were to happen, would be freaking phenomenal. They would be fantastic. Because John Cena versus Owens, which we are getting this Sunday at Elimination Chamber, I hope is not the end of the line for this feud. Hopefully it's just kind of a sign of things to come, either for the summer or down the road. Because that's a money feud right there. That's a feud I could definitely see main eventing WrestleMania. Lesnar and Joe is another feud I could see main eventing WrestleMania. I just don't see it happening. I don't ever see, I could see Joe being successful in WWE. I don't know if they would push him as a WrestleMania main eventer, though. I just don't have that much faith in them. I was proved wrong. I never thought he would be in the company at all, and they proved me wrong there. And I never thought Brock Lesnar would resign, so I've never been happy to have been wrong. But yeah, I just don't see that match main eventing WrestleMania. There is a chance of it happening. I'm not going to rule that out. In the main event of WrestleMania, though, they usually do the title match in the main event. And, Joe and Lesnar is not like a Rock and Cena. To us, it may be, but to the casual viewer, it may not be, or to Vince, it may not be. So that's the only way a non-title match would main event WrestleMania if it was like Rock and Cena, or a big-time match like Taker and Michaels from WrestleMania 26. I just don't see that happening. John Cena versus Owens, I could see one of them being champion going into WrestleMania, and I could very well see that happening. Is the main event, either next year or the year after, and I think it should too, because these guys are great. But yeah, of the 2, I think the more likely to one to main event WrestleMania, although I would love to see both of them main event WrestleMania one year, would have to be John Cena versus Kevin Owens. Next question: if Johnny Curtis is repackaged, if Johnny Curtis is repackaged and his Fandango gimmick is dropped, will we finally take him seriously? I don't think so, because he's been Fandango for so long, and before that he was a joke on NXT. They could really, really try. I want to see them drop the Fandango gimmick because it's going nowhere. The turning babyface thing backfired, and it's not working out. They got to turn the guy back to being Johnny Curtis. The guy is a great wrestler, and putting him in this gimmick is just a waste. Vince may be getting a kick out of it, but, it was over for all of like a month in 2013. It has not done him any favor since then. It's worth a shot. I'd rather see him go back to being Johnny Curtis than stay Fandango to the end of his career and just get released unceremoniously. I would like to at least see them give it a shot. I just don't think if he was to go back to being Curtis, although I would love to see that happen, he just probably wouldn't be as successful because he's been branded as a joke for so long. Unless he had a complete makeover, I just don't see people taking him seriously because he was the dancer for so many years and he was a joke on NXT for the last 5 years before that. So, I don't see it happening, unfortunately. Like Curtis Axel or Michael McGillicuddy, it would have to take a lot. You know, he was a joke in NXT. He was a nobody. And people didn't take him seriously when he first got branded as a Paul Heyman guy. And people, you know, granted, still don't take him seriously with the Axelmania thing. Although that is the point of the comedy gimmick. But that being said, though, you know, one of the reasons why people didn't take him seriously was because WWE did not book him properly. Like, I know they gave him a few wins over Triple H and John Cena, but that lasted all of 3 weeks. You know, after that point, he just did nothing. He was a jobber on the roster. He was jobbing a CM Punk, and when you do that, when you had him lose to CM Punk every week, he was a nobody. You know, people just still did not take him seriously. You have to have a huge gimmick overhaul, go on a huge winning streak, or pick up a number of huge victories in order for people to completely change their perception of you. Unless they were to give Fandango a few wins, or Johnny Curtis a few wins over John Cena, which I don't see happening, or whoever, you know, Brock Lesnar or something. I just don't see him being taken seriously, unfortunately. Next question comes from Ion. If that is your name, I apologize if it is not. I mean, if I mispronounced that, it is Aayyan. So if I mispronounced that, I apologize. I am known to do that. But INS, their question was, is it fair that Kevin Owens is getting better pushes, or getting a better push than Finn Balor, Tyler Breeze, and Itami? Is it fair? I don't care if it's fair. The guy's awesome. You know, he deserves it. Kevin Owens is in like 5 or 6 different feuds right now. If you include John Cena, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Sami Zayn, and then if you want to count Hideo Itami when he comes back, and maybe even William Regal if he comes out of retirement. You know, that's 6 feuds right there. And the guy is awesome. He's kicking ass on NXT, on the main roster. If he's here to stay, we'll have to wait and see. But I don't think it's a matter of fair, because I think it's not like the other 3 guys are being de-pushed. Finn Balor is the #1 contender for Kevin Owens' title. You know, Tyler Breeze is a great talent. He's not the #1 contender right now, but he's still putting on great matches. He's still getting a lot of television time. He's beaten Hideo Itami clean on a number of occasions. And then Itami's hurt right now, so it's not, he can't be pushed. And he was being pushed. He was at WrestleMania. He was the only NXT guy in that Battle Royal other than Alex Riley, if you want to count him. But yeah, he was in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania. So all these guys are being pushed in their own way. There's really no need to, you know, to call his push fair or unfair, because he's getting pushed more prominently than the other 3. It's fine. They're all being pushed. They're all going to be big stars. No need to worry. His next question was, what is the future of Samoa Joe? Now, first of all, I mean, I don't want to go too in length with this, you know, in depth, because I already talked about it in depth in my last week's the video blog that aired on Friday that I put up on Friday, welcoming Samoa Joe to WWE. If you want to check that out, my full thoughts on the NXT debut, the WWE debut of Samoa Joe. But I think for right now, he's going to be feuding with Kevin Owens, probably over the NXT title, and then we could see that main event in the next special in August. I don't see them fast-tracking him to the main roster. There's no need for that right now. Though, if he was to show up before the end of the year on the main roster, I would be pumped, and that would be great to see. I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. That said, though, I think for right now, he's going to be feuding with NXT champion Kevin Owens for the interim. If you're talking about long-term, I think, you know, the possibilities of feuds and matches that you could have with this guy, including Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, like I mentioned before, and Kevin Owens, and the list goes on and on and on, is endless. There are so many possibilities for him in terms of dream matches and potential matchups and stuff like that. So he's going to have a bright future in WWE, especially if Triple H continues to have his back, much like Kevin Owens. Triple H has Kevin Owens' back, and he's been treated very well, obviously, and deservedly so, rightfully so. And if Samoa Joe has that backing of Triple H, he could be very successful in WWE. Not the next face of the company, or I don't even know if he would win the World Championship, but he could be very pushed. He could be pushed very prominently in WWE and the main roster if they keep the course with him and they don't, you know, fuck up, if they don't mess up his push when he comes to the main roster, or even the NXT for that matter. His next question: no Bray Wyatt or Roman Reigns in the Elimination Chamber. Will they start a new feud? You know, that's the impression that I got while watching SmackDown last week. It was Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt, and then Roman Reigns coming out to kind of serve as the counterpart to Seth Rollins at ringside, kind of stray him away. Dean Ambrose had Bray Wyatt in the ropes when the referee wasn't looking. Roman Reigns Superman punched Bray Wyatt in the ropes, giving Dean Ambrose the victory, and there was really no reason to do that other than giving Dean Ambrose the win. There was no reason for Roman Reigns to do that, excuse me. So, yeah, I could very well see them transitioning that into a feud between the two, and I was pretty surprised that Bray Wyatt was not in the chamber. It might be for the better. I'm glad that, you know, Bray Wyatt is very rarely pinned on TV. I mean, I know he's been pinned by Jericho, Cena, Undertaker, and now Dean Ambrose, but other than that, the guy really has not been beaten all that much. I mean, maybe not, and maybe in tag team matches and action and stuff, tag team action and tag team matches, but other than that, though, he's kind of rarely pinned, so There's no reason for him to be in the chamber if he's not going to win. And I feel like they're probably going to give the belt to either Rusev or Sheamus. So if he's not going to win, it's probably better that he's not in there so he doesn't have to get pinned or looked weak or whatever, made to look weak. But that being said, though, I think, in the meantime, they're probably going to put him in a feud with one another. Because like I said, there was no reason for Roman Reigns to punch him on SmackDown last week unless they were going to move the two in a feud again. And that's probably the course they're taking, as Roman Reigns has nothing going on at the pay-per-view unless Rollins is facing Ambrose. So they're probably going to have to do that. I mean, I think that could be a good feud. It's something new. It's something fresh. I guess they're done with Bray Wyatt and Ryback. I mean, they should. It was kind of a filler feud for the time being. So, yeah, I'd be fine with that if they do that match at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It keeps both guys busy. I know Roman Reigns announced his intentions to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match on SmackDown, but that's in another month, another 3 weeks, so they have time. They'll probably do that match at the pay-per-view. Moving into the Twitter questions first. At Mira Storm, their question was, do you believe Damien Sandow's momentum has since been halted with his recent alignment with Curtis Axel? Absolutely. Well, I think first and foremost, his momentum was halted when they botched the feud with Miz a couple weeks ago, coming out of WrestleMania. Scratch that. They halted his momentum at WrestleMania when they made him lose the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which in retrospect makes no sense. You know, it didn't make any sense to me then when Big Show won. It doesn't make any sense now, considering Big Show is not even on TV. Maybe he returns tonight. Maybe I'm jinxing myself, but, you know, having him not win that match was mind-boggling to me in retrospect, and they botched the feud with Miz, and now he's a joke again. He did the whole mimicking thing for a week, and now he's back to doing impersonations. It doesn't make any sense to me, honestly, because I think, you know, there's so much potential there with Damien Sandow. Future world champion, I don't think so, but I think the guy could be a very, he's a very talented guy, and he could be a great mid-carder if they didn't treat him like a joke. Still, though, I feel like his thing with Axel, you know, it's fun for the time being. It's just going to get old. You know, I think the whole thing with Macho Man and Axel Mania, it's fun for what it is. I mean, I enjoyed it on Superstars. I enjoyed it on SmackDown. I enjoyed it at Payback last week. But other than that, though, I mean, if they keep on doing it every week and they do the same thing with a hot tag to Axelmania and he wins the match for the team, it's going to get old very quickly. Unless it's a strictly a house show gimmick on TV, it's not going to last long. So it absolutely has been halted. His momentum has been halted in this recent alignment with Curtis Axel, but I will go so far to say that it was halted after, you know, he lost to WrestleMania, which should not have happened. And I know he was still over after that, but in the feud with Miz kind of bombed because they didn't book that properly either. But I think the thing with having him not win at WrestleMania was really, you know, not a good move to make because it makes no sense in retrospect. It did nothing for Big Show. It only damaged Damien Sandow. And look where he is now. Next question comes from @Jared Bodle. His question was, how long do you think Seth Rollins should be WWE Champion for? WWE World Heavyweight Champion for? So RJ and I talked about this in a WrestleRant Radio excerpt, which is up here in the channel from 2 or 3 weeks ago if you want to check it out. But we basically came to the conclusion, I will go so far to say that, I know this is pretty bold, that I would be completely content with him holding the belt until WrestleMania next year. If they wanted to do the Shield triple threat at WrestleMania, I'd be completely content with that, and it could be possible, too, considering all the potential challenges they have for Seth Rollins as champion. They could put him up against Ryback, Daniel Bryan when he comes back, Dolph Ziggler, Roman Reigns in a one-on-one match, Kane if they want to do a one-off match between those two, Triple H maybe at some point if they break him off from the Authority. So I could see that. There's no reason for him to lose the belt at any point in the near future, but when I was talking with John Lee yesterday, he suggested that if they wanted to take the belt off of Rollins to kind of switch it up and kind of do the unexpected and put the belt on Ambrose, at Elimination Chamber, then give it back to Rollins 2 weeks later. I'm not a fan of the booking, sometimes when they drop the belt for like 2 weeks and then they give it back to him. I never thought that was, other than switching it up, I never thought that was necessary. As long as it doesn't become Rock and Mankind from early '99, then I'm fine with it, where they change the belt like every week from that was like the motto of the Attitude Era. That was like what the Attitude Era was all about, the title changing hands like every other month. But I feel like with Rollins, there's no reason to take the belt off of him right now. But if they want to do that and take the belt off of him at Elimination Chamber, give it back to him Money in the Bank, I would be fine with it because it's Dean Ambrose. But I think the more money is in him keeping that belt until SummerSlam to do the feud with Brock Lesnar. And even then, he shouldn't drop it because Brock Lesnar already had his run as WWE World Heavyweight Champion. They did that. I'm not going to say the experiment failed, but him not being on TV every week and them not having him, keep his presence, alive on television by, even mentioning him once or twice. This is their world champion. They neglect to mention the guy, which made absolutely no sense. But yeah, I would be fine with them keeping the belt on him until WrestleMania, to be quite honest with you. I don't think that's in the cards. He'll probably lose the belt, at some point later this year. If he dropped the belt this Sunday, I'd be fine with it, but I think I could definitely see it. If he doesn't lose it this Sunday, I could see him losing the championship at, coming out of SummerSlam. There's no reason for him to lose it at SummerSlam against Brock Lesnar, and that's purely speculation that he could leave, that he's going to be facing him. I mean, it's all but confirmed. There's no reason for them to do any other matchup besides Rollins versus Lesnar. But, maybe after SummerSlam we could see that matchup for the championship. Other than that, though, there's no reason for him to lose the belt at any point in the near future, unless they want to do the quick switcheroo with Dean Ambrose, like I explained before. Next question comes from Matt Swagzio. Their question was, where do you see TNA by the end of the year? So the whole thing with TNA right now being canceled by Destination America, that whole bullshit story, and TNA denying it, or not even denying it, they just said they were going to file a lawsuit or they were going to pursue legal action because it was inflammatory or something like that. It was defamatory towards their, or however you say it, towards their brand, and it was slander or whatever it was. And they never at any point denied that the rumors were true. The speculation from Dave Meltzer of The Observer, from the Wrestling Observer, was true, that they are going out of business, that they're not going out of business, that they are being canceled by Destination America in September. So TNA is a huge mess right now. It's embarrassing to watch. But by the end of the year, if they do get canceled by Destination America, they'll probably do everything to keep the brand alive. I don't know if they're just going to die. I don't know if that's in the cards. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not one of those people who wants to see TNA die. I'm a huge TNA fan. Less wrestling in wrestling doesn't make any sense. Like, less wrestling companies. I never understood why people would want to see a company die, but it is what it is. That said, though, I think by the end of the year, where is TNA? Where are they going to end up? They're going to do everything to keep the brand alive, either on their website or something. I don't know. Whatever they did 10 years ago before they went to Spike, they're going to try everything they could possibly do to, just keep these guys afloat to prevent them from going out of business. They'll probably be off Destination America by the end of the year. I didn't think I was going to say that. I didn't think, when I talked to John about it last week, I didn't think that they were going to cancel them because I thought it was way too premature to cancel the people, despite the ratings. I mean, they've only been on the network for 4 months, so it made no sense. But, they did cancel them. I was proved wrong again. I mean, this time I was kind of unhappy to be proved wrong because I don't want to see TNA die. By the end of the year, though, they'll probably, without house shows, without American television, I don't care if they have TV deals elsewhere, but, if they don't have TV in America, they're done. There's really nothing else they could do, so they're going to have to come up with some other solution. So I don't want to say they're just dead by the end of the year. They'll probably do something to keep the brand alive, sign elsewhere, but Destination America was even a last-minute deal in terms of getting over to their network, So, I don't know what they're going to do, but, hopefully, fingers crossed, they can keep the brand alive. I have no idea. I really have no predictions what's next for TNA. Now that Destination America has reportedly canceled them come September. So they have a couple months to come up with a backup plan as to what's next for TNA. His next question, do you see Rhino coming to the main roster? I don't think so. I've been asked it a few times. I like Rhino. I was very happy to see him come back to NXT. I think, him coming in as a part-time deal and putting over the younger talent is great. So that said, him coming to the main roster is not necessary. We have enough talent as it is. Like, I wouldn't be against it. I would love to see him back in the main roster. But I think he enjoys what he's doing right now, and him coming in, every few weeks to tape a match or two at NXT, and that's about it. And he could still work house shows, or still work indie events and Ring of Honors. Or I don't know if it's Ring of Honor, but he could still work other indie dates. I don't know if he would be able to do that if he worked the main roster. I don't think he'd be able to do that if he was on Raw and SmackDown, even on a Jericho or RVD schedule. It's not like RVD was working any dates when he was doing the part-time, or at least I don't think so, when he was doing the part-time WWE gig in 2013, 2014. So I could see, him coming to the main roster maybe for a one-off against John Cena, given their history from like 10 years ago for the U.S. Open. I think that'd be pretty cool. But other than that, though, I don't see him being a regular on the main roster. I think he's probably better off in NXT where he can work his own schedule, work a match every once in a while, and then just come in and put other people over. I think that's the best use for Rhino right now. I'm enjoying it, and just keep it going. There's no reason to fix what's not broken. Next question coming from @CodyCollier37. Their question was, what do you think Vince McMahon Sr. excuse me, what do you think Vince McMahon Sr. would think of his son's progress with the WWE since 1984? It's crazy. Because I was reading Hulk Hogan's book, which is actually right here. It's a very, very good book. I'm not shamelessly plugging it. I'm just saying, here's the book that I'm reading right now. That Vince McMahon Sr., his philosophy was only to kind of worry about his own little world. And, he had something going in the New York area. He didn't want to mess that up. And, so why screw that up? Why, try to go after other promotions? He had his own mini vision for what the WWF or WWF was back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. And he didn't want to, stray away from that. Vince, on the other hand, Vince Jr., Vince McMahon or Jr., that we have, Mr. McMahon, whatever, he had a broader vision, along with Hulk Hogan, for the WWF, whatever you want to call it, and that he felt it could go worldwide, not just, territorial based like it was back in the day with all the different territories and whatever. He felt it could be expanded upon and go worldwide with it. Although that wasn't Vince Sr.'s, motto, that wasn't his agenda, I'm sure he would be proud of his son for kind of taking it to the next level and keeping the brand afloat. Would WWE still be here today if it wasn't for Vince Jr. taking that, taking it worldwide? Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say. I don't think so. I mean, they probably would have gone out of business at some point. If they were just going to keep on competing in that, just in the New York, in the Northeast-based area, they would have had to expand it at some point. So maybe Vince Sr. would not be happy with, him taking over all the other territories, because that wasn't Vince Sr.'s agenda. But, him making the business what it is today, making it a global phenomenon, and the top dog in wrestling, I'm sure he would be more than proud of his son, to say the least. That goes without saying. Next question from @RawsGaby. Their question was, any indie guys you would like to see in NXT? Jimmy Preston, I've talked about him before. The One Man Thrill Ride, check him out. I think his Twitter handle is, is it One Man Thrill Ride? I feel like it is. Or Thrill Ride JP or something like that. One Man Thrill Ride Jimmy Preston, if you want to check him out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, especially on YouTube. That guy's incredibly entertaining. I feel like WWE should sign him. He's a great entertainer, he's a great performer, and he's also a pretty good wrestler too. I've seen him wrestle up, in person at various indie shows. He's very, very good, so I would like to see him in WWE at some point. Matt Taven, I've talked about before. I think would be really cool. I think as a heel, especially, he works very, very well. I think he recently turned heel, or at least has turned heel since I last watched Ring of Honor last summer, and he was always great. I started watching him in Northeast Wrestling when I first started getting into indie wrestling back in 2009. I would love to see him in WWE NXT at some point. I think he could be a great talent. Jay Lethal's another guy that I'm surprised they never even made a get for. I mean, I know they have Damian Sandow doing the whole Macho Man impersonation. Why not bring in the best? Why not sign Jay Lethal? The guy's great. Not only as a performer, but even as a heel in Ring of Honor, where I didn't think he would thrive. He's thriving. The whole thing with Truth Martini. I don't know if they're still doing that, but they were doing that last year when I was watching. And the guy's great, even as a wrestler, too. I mean, watching his TNA work, I was always a huge fan of his. So, Jay Lethal, Matt Taven, One Man Thrill Ride, Jimmy Preston. I'm not a huge indie guy. Like, I don't watch a lot of indie wrestling other than the shows that I go to. Sometimes Ring of Honor, but I don't really count that as an indie promotion. You can call it a glorified indie promotion. That's basically what TNA might be by the end of the year if they don't get another TV deal. But I wouldn't call Ring of Honor a indie promotion because they have TV right now, which TNA might not have by the end of the year. Regardless, though, I think with any other indie guys, like I was saying before, like I don't watch the New Japan or any of the other 2CW and stuff like that. I don't watch those promotions, so I can't speak. Like I didn't know who Uhaa Nation was before he came to NXT, but I've heard nothing but great things about him. Along with Willie Mack, who I'm surprised they did not sign. I don't know what the issue was there, but the guy, I never really saw much of his work before he joined Lucha Underground. Before he signed with WWE, I heard he got released. But now watching him in Lucha Underground, the guy is great. And I am very surprised that WWE did not snatch him up because the guy is a very talented athlete. And he's another guy, when he's done in Lucha Underground, I would love to see him back in WWE. Re-sign with them and go to NXT because that guy is very, very talented. So those are a few guys I would like to see in NXT at some point. I'm not banking on it, but those are some dream picks. If I was Vince, I would at least give them a tryout and kind of test them out. And with NXT being the hottest brand in all of wrestling right now, with him having Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Hideo Itami, Sami Zayn. They have so much talent right now. To only add to that would be phenomenal. Uhaa Nation coming in pretty soon, so they have a lot of potential talent coming on the way to NXT, and I'm very excited to see who else they sign in the future. Final question from @BigBird432. Their question was, who do you think will eventually beat John Cena for the United States title? Kevin Owens would be a great pick. I could see him. I could see him beating John Cena at the pay-per-view this Sunday, and then earning himself a future shot at the United States Championship. I could very well see that happening. I would likely see, at this point in time, see John Cena winning. I don't want to see that happen, but I could see that happening. especially if the plan is not to bring up Kevin Owens as a regular fixture on the Raw roster, on the main brands, on the Raw brand, on the main roster. I switched that by accident. But, yeah, so I got to see John Cena winning this Sunday. But if Kevin Owens was to win, they can give him a title shot and have him win the championship. But if that was the plan, why not just make it a title match from day one? Cena's a fighting champion, so I don't know why they're not doing this belt over the title. But I feel like it might be because they want to give Owens the win, but they don't want to give him the belt. So I'm hoping that's the case. But other than him, though, Finn Balor would be a cool guy if he came up to the main roster and beat him for the championship. That would be amazing. Some other NXT guys, maybe Hideo Itami down the line, Samoa Joe. I mean, given all the history between him and John Cena, behind the scenes and them training together, and John Cena kind of being a huge proponent of Samoa Joe over the years, that would be stellar. That would be sensational if he could come up to the main roster and beat John Cena for that belt. Preferably I would go with an NXT guy, as you could tell, but in terms of main roster talent, I'm trying to think, before Daniel Bryan got hurt, I probably would have gone with Daniel Bryan and seen they could have unified those two titles. But, Daniel Bryan's hurt. He'll be out for a while, it looks like, so no unification match between those two. Maybe with somebody else, if they give the IC title to someone else that's on Daniel Bryan's level, like a Dean Ambrose. I don't want to see Sheamus again. They've already done that feud to death. I don't really care to see that again. But, I could see them doing a unification match at SummerSlam and whoever being the Intercontinental Champion beating John Cena. There's no reason for John Cena to be the one to unify both those championships. He should be in there to give that match more credibility, but by no means should he be the one to unify both belts. He already had that opportunity to do that with the WWE and World Heavyweight Championships back in 2013. Give it to the new guy, and that's all I'm asking for. But still, though, who would I have him beat for the U.S. title, or who would I have beat John Cena for the United States Championship? That's a good question. Like I said, there's so many people from NXT that I would probably go with a Finn Balor. Or Kevin Owens would probably be preferable, but, Samoa Joe would be good too, or an Owens or a Balor, like I said before. There's not many people on the main roster that I would really go with. There's not really many potential. There's a couple potential candidates, like a Dean Ambrose, but we already saw that match. Roman Reigns, I wouldn't really go with. I'm trying to think Sami Zayn down the line, if they want to do that rematch, or a Neville, who never really... he kind of got screwed out of the United States Championship a couple weeks ago when Rusev interfered. So if they wanted to do that rematch and give Neville the belt, that would be great, and give him a huge win, a pinfall victory over John Cena for the United States Championship. Stuff like that I'd be fine with, but I don't have one clear answer. But, Finn Balor or Owens or anyone from NXT personally would be my pick to take the U.S. Championship off of John Cena. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of #AskGSM. As always, thank you for sending in your questions. Always appreciated. And if you want to send in a question, you can tweet me on Twitter at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews, or leave a comment on this very video. I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated, like I said before. Enjoy your Memorial Day, folks. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys down the road.